Hello everyone, this is Remlays from 40k Theories, and welcome to this new episode of 40k Lore for Newcomers. For this episode, we will be continuing our brief look at the Warhammer 40,000 timeline. While these videos will typically focus more on humanity's actions throughout the timeline, certain important Xenos events will also be documented throughout. So without further ado, let's continue. The following account is a continuation of certain events from M37 to the end of M38. Because of how intricate and detailed the events of this time were, only certain key events will be mentioned, which in turn will be expanded upon in future videos. In addition, there is also a small chance for potential inaccuracies of specific dates due to contradicting sources. For events that occurred prior to M37, make sure to check out the previous videos in the 40k timeline. 010 M37. A red giant class star within the Maxil Beta system becomes infused with extensive amounts of warp energy, causing it to detonate and spread the corrupting influence of the warp to every world hundreds of light years from the epicenter of the explosion. The inhabitants of each world are either mutated or become vessels for demonic possession, leading to the Imperium mobilizing the Grey Knights, a dozen other Space Marine chapters, several orders of the Adepta Sororitas and countless regiments of the Astra Militarum to contain this mass demonic incursion. Billions of lives are lost in the act of containing and ultimately destroying this outbreak of chaotic corruption. 321 M37. Saint Basilius declares that 30 Space Marine chapters are found wanting in the eyes of the Emperor, and announces the beginning of the Abyssal Crusade. The chapters who are seen as lacking in their devotion to the Emperor and the Imperium are given a choice of being granted death or to travel into the warp rift known as the Eye of Terror to cleanse the tainted worlds within and to bring death to the enemies of mankind. All 30 chapters choose the latter option. 502 M37. The Tau Empire's first sphere of expansion begins, leading to the race's first encounter with the Orcs. The Tau realize that the Orcs cannot be brought into the Tau Va due to their mindset and psyche, but they remain undeterred. 550 M37. A coalition of rogue tech priests, under the command of an individual known as the Blind King, decrees that humanity is an insult to the Omnissiah, and declares war upon the Imperium, beginning the events of the Ecclusiad War. The Apostles of the Blind King use a number of artifacts from the Dark Age of technology to detonate a number of stars within the outer reaches of Segmentum Obscurus, before they are defeated by forces from the Iron Hands Space Marine chapter. 754 M37. Menial labourers across thousands of worlds begin rebelling against their masters and overseers within the Administratum, demanding better treatment, higher quality of life, equality, and tolerance. This rebellion proves popular amongst the younger members of the populations, earning the rebellion the name of the Children's Crusade. Billions of these rebels attempt to make a pilgrimage to Terra, but the majority of their vessels become lost within the warp. 811 M37. The 7th Black Crusade begins. The Blood Angels chapter suffers severe casualties during the Battle of Makan. 893 M37. The Proctroon becomes the first Xenos race to become assimilated into the Tau Empire, but soon become extinct, thanks to an unexpected viral outbreak that lasts for several generations. The Tau, immune to this plague, lay claim to the Proctroon's homeworld, establishing it as a sept world for their empire, that is known today as Bor-Khan. Circa 900 M37. The Disciples of Caliban chapter is founded by the request of the Dark Angels chapter master, Anaziel. The chapter is rumoured to have been created for the sole purpose of hunting the notorious fallen Dark Angel known as Cypher. 999 M37. Abaddon the Despoiler, launches the 8th Black Crusade for the sole purpose of appeasing the Chaos God Tzeentch. 034 M38. The Alpha Legion Demon Prince, known as Voldorius, unleashes a nanotech weapon from the Dark Age of technology called the Blood Tide to kill billions. 112 M38. The Vorpal Swords return from the Abyssal Crusade and are the sole Space Marine chapter to have not been destroyed or corrupted during the course of the Crusade. The chapter master of the Vorpal Swords declares Basilius as a false saint and has the man's remains and relics launched into the heart of a nearby star. All shrines dedicated to Basilius are subsequently destroyed. 116 M38. The demon known as the Changeling assumes the form of an Eldari solitaire and infiltrates a troop of Harlequins that travels to the craft world of Il-Sariad. As the Harlequin troupe performs one of its plays, the Changeling reveals itself and summons the Mask, the once most favoured dancer of Slaanesh, and a horde of Slaaneshi demons to run rampant throughout the craft world. While the craft world's aspect warriors were able to drive back this demonic incursion, the aftermath of the conflict reveals that thousands of Eldari were slain. 299 M38. The world of Altid 156 secedes from the Imperium. A regiment of the Astra Militarum is sent to bring the world back into compliance, but the Space Marines of the Dark Angels chapter insist on assaulting the world themselves. This is due to the instigator of the rebellion, Elucidax the Keeper, being in actuality Zariah, who was one of the mysterious Fallen, Dark Angels who turned traitor during the events of the Horus Heresy. Zariah is captured and made to repent his sins before being executed. 555 M38. The sororitas of the Order of the Valorous Heart begin the First Sevavan Crusade, purging the cardinal world of Sevavan of a heretical cult. 573 M38. The 9th Black Crusade begins. This conflict culminated with the destruction of an Imperial Navy fortress, the Celestial Sword Space Marine chapter, and the near annihilation of the Lamenters chapter, while several smaller Traitor Legion fleets travelled from the Eye of Terror to unknown destinations. 606 M38. The Tau Empire engages in a protracted campaign against the Orcs. This campaign also sees the first widespread use of the Firecast's trademark pulse rifle weaponry. 666 M38. The Ravenwing Company of the Dark Angels chapter loses 3 separate Grand Masters over the course of the year during the chapter's hunt for the Fallen. Over the next 20 years, as the various captains of the chapter evaluate potential candidates to elevate to Grand Master of the company, leadership of the Ravenwing falls to the Grand Master of the Angels of Vengeance chapter's Ravenwing Company. 755 M38. The world of Baal Alpha is besieged by a massive Orc war. The world's planetary defense forces and a detachment of the Imperial Fists chapter keep the Orcs at bay long enough for the Blood Angels chapter to provide the defenders reinforcements, destroying the Orcs soon after. 788 M38. The sororitas orders of the Bloody Rose and Sacred Rose are founded by Ecclesiarch Deacus VI. 884 M38. The Tau Empire established their alliance with the Kroot race, who now serve the Tau as an auxiliary race after the Tau saved their homeworld of Pek from an Orc invasion. The Empire's first sphere of expansion comes to a close approximately 70 years later, with 7 new Sept worlds established overall. 967 M38. The Drukhari Archon known as Cruella the Vile leads her Cabal of the Flayed Skull on a raid that massacres the 87th Blue Bloods Imperial Guard Regiment, with the regiment's captain left as the sole human survivor. The captain is interrogated by the Inquisition, but dies during the course of the questioning. And that concludes this portion of the Warhammer 40,000 timeline. Join us next time for events occurring from M39 onwards. If you liked this video, consider supporting us on Patreon for more content. To those new to 40k, we hope you learned something. So leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.